Hello everybody and welcome back to another episode, a friggin' super special episode of Deep Thoughts. And today we are talking about Kimetsu no Yaiba Demon Slayer episode 12, Hinokami. Before we do though, I have to give a super special shout out to those of you who shared last week's video, namely at Nacho Gashardo, whose name I'm hoping I'm saying correctly this time, and at DCypher14. Thanks very much, you two, and hey, if you want to get your name shouted out in next week's Yaiba video, be sure to share this video around on the internet and then tag me at JoJo Talks Too Much to be sure to get your name in the next video. With that said though, I have to say something off the top. I, JoJo Talks Too Much, of sound body and mind, do declare this is not only the best episode of Yaiba, no question, but could very well be the best episode of the entire summer season thus far, and might very well be my favorite episode of anything Ufotable has ever worked on. I do not say that lightly. I am not screwing around. That is where my feelings are right now. This show is far and away, I think, one of my favorite shonen series I've seen in some time. Like without having any kind of prior background, like any like old like nostalgia tied to it. This is one of my favorite shonen. It is, I think, the best thing Ufotable, my favorite show from Ufotable thus far, and I don't even know where I'm going to begin talking about this episode. Actually, you know what? Let's go ahead and begin talking about this episode by talking about the friggin' reaction to this episode. Twitter lost its damn mind. Before I even got to sit down and watch this episode, I saw countless people on Twitter. It was trending. It was in one of those like Twitter news things, just how like Twitter was just going insane over this Yaiba episode. I saw like friends of mine tweeting about it. I saw like AniTubers tweeting about it. I saw like random people on Twitter, like random Twitter people, random just general people on Twitter, people who maybe even normally wouldn't talk about some of this stuff, talking about this week's episode, mainly the animation in this week's episode, but just talking about this week's episode as though it was like an event. Like it was, and I like, so of course, leading up to it, I was like, okay, I wish I didn't see that, because now I'm gonna go in being like, okay, impress me. You've clearly impressed the rest of the planet. Now you gotta impress me. Now I'm coming in with a chip on my shoulder. What you got? And I don't know why I ever do this. Every time I ever walk into any show going, okay, impress me, it's usually the episode where the show pulls out all the stops, pulls out every trick in the book, pulls out everything it's got. And Yaiba did that in this episode to such an insane degree that when the credits started to roll, I sat there in shock. I had tears welling up in my eyes. I wasn't like full on crying, but I had tears welling up. I had the biggest, dumbest smirk on my face. I was like literally like mouth, not even smirk. My jaw wide open, smiling, staring, just stunned at my screen at what I had seen. These still images ain't gonna tell the story, and I'm not even sure I can talk about this episode in the way that I wanted to. Because you know me, I normally go like, okay, so these are all the points I liked. These are some of the things I would have fixed. These are some of the stuff maybe I didn't like as much. I don't know how I could possibly talk about anything other than that fight. I genuinely like, and it's not even like you guys know, like Zenitsu is my boy. He's my favorite character. So you'd think that I'd be like, oh, Zenitsu is safe, yay. That's not where my head is at right now. Don't get me wrong. I'm happy Zenitsu's safe, and I am like overjoyed that he's gonna be okay. And I'm kind of in love with that one girl, like the nurse character, like the doctor character who showed up. She is stunning and fun and friggin' cute. I am all about her. Could we learn more about her next? Can she have a dope ass anime fight like that? Cause I'd be up for that, Ufotable. I mean, if you feel like you got another one of these episodes, I don't know how you would. I feel like just I wanted to talk about anything other than that scene, and I just circled back to that scene. The whole second half of this episode, because the first half is spent with Inosuke, who gets a really funny bit with Big Man, whose name is escaping me right now. Big badass boy, whose name is friggin' escaping me. I'm sorry. My brain is just scrambled right now. But Inosuke gets a really funny scene with the dude who Tanjiro knows, like the big badass guy, and their interaction was fun. I would like to actually see Inosuke interact with this guy a little bit more. I know I mainly want to see him interact with Tanjiro again, but I do want to see his reaction, or Inosuke like challenge him to a fight again, and have maybe this dude be like, oh, this freaking kid, like just like have Inosuke constantly be like, dude, fight me, come on, you have to fight me, and have this guy be like, ugh. Then maybe like one hit KO him like every time they meet up again, or something fun like that. Like I feel like their interactions going forward could be really interesting. Yeah, I'm just gonna talk about this. Okay, so the reason why this might be my favorite episode of this season, it would be incredibly easy for me to say the animation, because it is. Like it just is the best animation we've seen this season. I would be hard pressed for anyone to prove me wrong. I don't think there's a single episode this season, with the exception of maybe the second part of the Uotani backstory from Fruits Basket. Those two are, and the Uotani flashback, the first episode of Vinland Saga, and this for best episodes of the season. And I love those two, but man, this episode, holy crap. Like, even just like Nezuko, who we were all saying, like, when is Nezuko gonna show the hell up? Like, where is my girl? And the way she arrives, like making the sacrifice play, just like jumping in front, like, and for a second I was like, she's gonna be just fine. She's a demon, she's fine. But for a split second I was like, did Nezuko just die? Like, because we've established that those threads are tougher, and we're able to break Tanjiro's sword. And then the demon himself, the kid himself, is tougher than the threads. So they're in this no-win scenario. They're in the Kobayashi Maru. And Tanjiro says, nay, I don't believe in the no-win scenario. And here's the thing, right? If it was just action, that'd be one thing. But it's also the music. There's like this, like during the Tanjiro and Nezuko like desperate struggle, the first half of the fight, like the desperate like struggle against this kid. They play this like the usual sort of like sweeping orchestral stuff, but it had like almost this like synth feeling in the beginning. I was like, ooh, that's different. I like that. Like that. The OST on its own was great, and then they have this insert song when it looks like all hope is lost, and Tanjiro's like remembering his dad, which was friggin' dope. But like the music in that scene, holy crap. And can we talk a second about Tanjiro's old man? How long did it take to see this dude? And it was so worth it. It was so worth it. That little, like, the fire dance this dude does. The animation on the way that dude moved. Just, wow. And, like, like, when he's like, you have to keep this breathing technique. You have to, like, it has to be passed down from me to you. I made a promise. Promise? What are you talking about, Tanjiro's dad? What are you talking about? What's going on? I can't even get too far into that because I'm already looking at the time on Audacity, which is the program I use to record audio, and I'm already nervous that if I talk about any little thing for too long, the video is gonna go for like 20 friggin' minutes, and I don't want it to be anything over like 12 or 13. And I am desperately trying not to freak out. Can you tell that I'm actually really holding back right now? I'm trying so hard not to scream. So it's not just the animation. It's not just the music. You want to impress me, you want to get an A+, you got to nail all three. Art and animation, sound and music, and the voice acting kind of gets tossed in there too, and story and character. And yeah, I genuinely think this is the best written episode of the show thus far. I can't speak for the manga, because obviously you know me, I'm an anime only. But the writing in this episode was so tight and so impressive. The reason why, I think, is because it did focus mainly on this fight, right? But we also establish a theme. And the theme is echoed by Tanjiro himself when he says, using terror to shackle someone is not the bond of a family. And that theme of family is the overall theme of the episode. And for my money, the way that it was used here, like to show the idea of, and I think if you read between the lines, like really read between the lines, this felt like a family unit that is based around love versus a family unit that is based around terror. But there's some real world correlations you could probably connect there. And that hit like a truck. And just the idea of this kid who thinks that he needs to keep everybody in line. Everybody has to know their role. Like this kid is the friggin' like this kid's idol must be The Rock or something. Know your role and shut your mouth. And the idea that this kid rules this family with fear. And it's sad to say that there are family units who do think like, you are my family, therefore you must do XYZ. Whereas with Tanjiro and Nezuko, terror and fear isn't what keeps them together. It's love, which is like cheese. Don't get me wrong, it is cheese. But the bond of a family runs so much deeper than fear. It runs so much deeper than quote like roles that people have to play. It's genuine care and emotion and the ability to go above and beyond for those in your family. And I do think too, even if you connected the beginning parts of the episode where it didn't focus on these two, it still has the overall theme of family in both parts, because Inosuke learned to treat these people who took him in, his friends, as though they were his family. Zenitsu held on because he thought of the old man who he treats like his family. And it's that the ability that family pushes one to go above and beyond. It's a very shonen style storytelling where it's using this theme through the shonen style like action, right? Like it's an action episode, right? It's all about the fight. And don't get me wrong, the animation and music is great, but what carries it is this overall theming of family. And holy shit, this episode is it just nailed it. I wish I were I wish I was better with my words to properly convey how impressive this episode is. I'm simply not. Words can't express. Should have sent a poet. Ufotable, a round of applause for you, all of you on your team. I am so friggin' overjoyed. This show is so damn good. With that said, everybody, I think it's pretty obvious the grade I'm gonna give it. It's getting a D-. No, I'm kidding. Of course, it's getting a friggin' A+. Whew, okay, everybody. So before we go, as always, I have to give a big shout out to the good folks over on Patreon, namely those in the Earl Grey tier: Calvin Atkinson, Crowbar of Irony, Dominic, Urza, No For Nothing, Maria Teresa, Mirth Mouser, Nye, Omnigaramond, Opinionated Slime, Cell, Shadow Creative, Sipco Games, Somastan, Tristan, and Veridin. Thank you all so much for your continued support over on Patreon, and if you too would like to join the T Squadron, be sure to check out the first link in the description. That'll take you over to our Patreon page, and you can check out all the cool rewards you can get, as well as access to our Patreon exclusive Discord, where I am sure I am still screaming about Yaiba right now. But on that note, everybody, that is going to be a video, so I hope you guys enjoyed me screeching about Yaiba for 10 minutes, and if you did enjoy today's video, then you've probably been on the internet long enough to know what to do already, so I ain't going to tell you, but I will say that it is appreciated, and if you're feeling stressed out today, you go have yourself a warm cup of tea, and I will talk to you all again real soon.